And now whatever you say will be held against you. No, it won't. It won't. It won't. Welcome everybody to this month's introduction to vibroacoustic therapy and no, introduction to inHarmony interactive and vibroacoustic therapy. That's right. My name is Craig Goldberg. I'm one of the co-founders here at inHarmony Interactive. Me and my amazing business partner, Dominic. This is why we do what we do. So today, over the next hour and 15 minutes or so, we're going to go through exactly the history of inHarmony. We're going to go through the history of vibroacoustic therapy. We're briefly going to talk a little bit about different technologies that you can stack. We're going to talk about our products in detail. We're going to talk about different technologies that you can stack together. We're going to talk about so many different things. I've got this nice little list over here, and I'm going to start working through all of it. We're going to go through best practices. This is a fantastic introduction for anybody that needs to learn or wants to learn about inHarmony Interactive, is one of our new customers, is a new affiliate, is part of our ecosystem, and is like, I just want to hear the whole story from start to finish. I want to know what's going on. So that's the purpose. That's why we're here. You can turn your video off and listen if you want. We do post a recording in the Telegram groups, which we're going to talk about also. And tonight is really all about education. It's about sharing. And if y'all have questions along the way, because there are many of you that are watching this live, by all means, please unmute yourself, interrupt, say hello, or hold it for the Q&A towards the end as well. I'm going to be admitting people as they're coming in. So there's a few things that I've got going on. If you see my eyes moving, maybe we'll get into a screen share and I'll give you a little tour of our website. We could pretty much do whatever you want to do outside of what I want to do. We're all in this together. So here we go. As I mentioned, my name is Craig Goldberg. I'm one of the co-founders here at inHarmony. I pretty much run the day-to-day operations and pretty much everything front of house, all things sales, marketing, and vibroacoustic therapy related. My business partner, Dominic Carnevale, one of the most amazing souls on the planet, one of the best business partners I've ever had. He and I have known each other for just about a decade. We were friends long before we started inHarmony Interactive and Holistic Health Science, which was our predecessor company, which we'll talk about when we get into our history. We've been doing this for 6 years, and it is largely a passion project for Dom and I. This is our opportunity and our outlet to really touch the world, to bring a lot of value, and to really help everybody level up. And we're going to talk a lot about inHarmony and our technology. I don't know why. Every time I start doing a live, my nose starts to itch, like the inner hairs of my nose start. So you might see me anyway. It's just a little thing that goes on. So we are here to help the world. My business partner, Dominic, has a master's in spiritual psychology. We're both pretty well tapped in. For those of you that are interested in going, way to the woo, we're not going to do that today, but we can do that. So if you ever want to reach out to me and have a conversation of how our technology could be used in this setting or this environment or under a full moon or underneath a pine tree forest or on the beach or on a boat, or chances are we've tried it, we've talked through it, or somebody in the network has done it. Sound lounges and our practitioners have been all over the world. They've been in different ceremonies. They've been in different clinical settings. There is a ton of application in what we do. I started to tell you a little bit about the history, and that's kind of where I want to start. So the first sound lounge actually came off the production line 6 years ago. 6 years ago. In fact, 6 years ago to the month, it was November of 2016 when the first 10 sound lounges were made. And up until that point, Dominic was a user of this technology, saw some areas for improvement and wanted to iterate on that, wanted to build on that, and eventually did just that. He actually took something that was already on the market and made improvements around it. We improved the amplifier, we improved the headphone amplifier, we improved the headphones, the connections, the transducers, the overall build quality, the foam, everything else. Basically came out with a completely revamped product as we really began to embark upon making sound lounges for ourselves. In the recording on my website, you'll hear it referred to as the Vassal Series 1. Vassal, V-A-S-L, stands for Vibroacoustic Sound Lounge. I didn't really like that name. The name of our company at the start was Holistic Health Science, and that company was actually started about 8 years ago in 2014. Took a couple years to figure out what we wanted to do, and then began mass production of the inHarmony Sound Lounge. That Sound Lounge largely has not changed since. we've made some mild modifications to the headphone amplifier, to the way that it was set up, to the main sound lounge amplifier, changing from a class A, B to a class D, which again, just making it smaller and lighter, a little bit more efficient. The transducers are the same. The wiring diagram is the same. The foam itself, the material, everything is largely the same. That product is a very, very, very successful product. People ask me all the time, will it ever change? The answer to that is I'm really not sure. Obviously, we would only make it better, but that product is largely unchanged. The Sennheiser headphones, all the cables and connections, we've made some basic modifications here and there, but generally speaking, the experience is exactly the same. And the outer and inner workings are pretty much exactly the same as well. So that product's been around for a long time. The name of our company at the time was Holistic Health Science. And if you want to see a history of where we came from, if you want to see me with a beard and some way longer hair, you could take a look. You can still find the YouTube channel. You can still find the Instagram account. I left them all up for just this purpose so that y'all can see where we came from. We built the inHarmony Practitioner, and I'm going to talk about each one of these products as well. We built the inHarmony Practitioner in January of 2018. We built the inHarmony Meditation Cushion in June of 2020. We released that through an Indiegogo campaign, which you can also still find published on the web. You can see the raise we did. You can see what it took to bring that to fruition, and all of the magic around that. I believe in leaving these breadcrumbs up on the web. I believe in allowing people to read into our story. You can still see the comments, the updates, and all of the really cool things that we did specific to the inHarmony meditation cushion. When we rolled out the inHarmony meditation cushion, we wanted to see if the meditation cushion by itself was marketable online. So the history of holistic health science, we largely built that business through events, through local events in Southern California and really the regions where we can drive. We weren't really flying, we weren't really going around. Frankly, we had enough opportunity in Southern California, Orange County, LA, Arizona, Vegas, Northern California. We really didn't go much further than that. And we were doing lots of events. I'm talking 4, 5, 6 major events a month, 2 and 3 day events, a bunch of pop-ups here and there. We largely built that business like many of you might want to build your local business in your local community by showing up and meeting the people and taking it out to the people that are there. When we came out with the meditation cushion, it was obviously a lower price point, and we really wanted to see what we could do online through digital marketing. So we really began into that movement. Now, we wanted to do this underneath a different moniker. We wanted to do this not building on the success that we had with holistic health science, and we absolutely had success, but we didn't want that network. There were about 400 or 500 people in that network, customers of ours. While we did want them to buy meditation cushions, I didn't want them to get in on the Indiegogo campaign so early that we wouldn't see exactly what legs we had. Now, we eventually did reach out to them. We did offer, you might be somebody who's watching this, we did offer them the best price possible because obviously they were our supporters. But we wanted a new name and a new company, so we came out with inHarmony Interactive. A few smart fellows did figure it out and sent me a couple messages like, hey, this looks like it's got your name on it. Is this yours? And of course, we owned up and said, yeah, absolutely. But we largely didn't want that entire community to know what was going on. So for a little while, we actually did run 2 companies, Holistic Health Science with the Sound Lounge and the Practitioner, and then inHarmony Interactive with the meditation cushion. Once we closed out the Indiegogo campaign and shifted to our e-commerce, launched our new website, we then migrated the Sound Lounge, the Practitioner to inHarmony, and closed down Holistic Health Science. The name was a little clinical, wasn't really something that we really wanted to continue forward. And instead, inHarmony Interactive, I think it speaks volumes to the impact that our technology has. It's a name that we're really excited about, hence inHarmony Sound Lounge, inHarmony Practitioner, and the inHarmony Meditation Cushion. We are in the field of vibroacoustic therapy. Vibroacoustic therapy. It's a big word, VAT for short. And vibro means vibration. Acoustic means sound. All we're talking about is sound and vibration. By the way, the oldest vibroacoustic tool on the planet is our throat and our larynx and our voice box. So it's not very different from chanting, oming, humming, toning. We're just doing that on a much larger scale. It's the same body of research. Vibroacoustic therapy is the same body of research that sound healers base their work on using acoustic instruments, bells, chimes, gongs, didgeridoos, and that sort of thing. It's all the same body of research. We're talking about specific vibrations that are generated either by a piece of technology or an acoustic instrument. Any object that's in the vicinity of that tone that's being made, the frequency that's coming out of that device, it comes into harmonic resonance with that frequency. And all that means is that they match up and they come into alignment. Harmonic resonance basically means to come into balance. with something that's creating a frequency or a vibration. And by the way, there are frequencies all around us all the time, not just Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and the likes, but even electricity has a 60 hertz hum. Your refrigerator in your kitchen has a 60 hertz hum. Generally, you can hear that hum. You hop into your garage and you're going to hear electrical, right? You go out and air conditioning units, right? We're constantly being bombarded with frequencies, most of which we don't even hear and we don't even pick up on unless it's just for a second when an air conditioning unit kicks on or something to that effect. And then it just kind of blends into the background. It blends into the background for our conscious thought. However, our bodies are constantly picking up and coming into harmonic resonance with those frequencies that we're exposed to all day, every day. And this is really the study of vibroacoustic therapy. Vibroacoustic therapy is basically the study of sound and frequency on our physiology, our anatomy, and our neurology. And as a certified vibroacoustic therapy practitioner, I was trained through the lineage of the kind of the granddad of that industry, the pioneer, the man who actually came up with that name. His name is Olav Skill. And back in the late 1970s is when he started doing research on specific frequencies and their impact on our physiology. And since then, you can search vibroacoustic therapy and a bunch of websites are going to come up and a bunch of practitioners are going to come up and a bunch of people in your local community are going to come up. This is something that is growing more and more and more. And I'm really proud to be a part of that wave. I'm proud to be a part of the movement. And that's really how I look at my role. My role is to be out there in the community to teach, train, and educate on the efficacy of vibroacoustic therapy, to really evangelize the benefits and really talk to the impact and the potential impact that our technology can have on the human body. And without diving too much into vibroacoustic therapy, I do want to talk a little bit about our tech and how it's so helpful. I was just chatting with Alea before we came on board. She said she was just on the tech before. I was just on my tech as well before I came on here. And I'm going to tell you a little story of life. I'm going to tell you a little story of why our technology is so powerful, and that of meditation is so powerful as well. So many of us are walking around in a triggered nervous system state. The technical name for that is a sympathetic nervous system response. It's associated with fight or flight. And many of us are walking around in this state all day, every day, literally from the moment we wake up until the moment we close our eyes at night. And various things trigger us throughout the day. Some things that trigger us are supposed to trigger us. Some things are supposed to put us into that nervous system response, which, by the way, is involuntary. You don't get to decide if you go in or out. However, you can train your brain and train your body to normalize certain things and to change the way your body reacts to certain situations. And that's where our tech is so powerful. Our tech is so powerful in calming and relaxing the nervous system and giving you the tools to stay cool, calm, and collected, otherwise known as a parasympathetic nervous system response, throughout the day. Here's the thing that's most important, and then I'm going to tell you a very interesting story of my life. So, when we're in a sympathetic nervous system response, when we are triggered, for whatever the reason, let's say it's triggered for the right reason. Let's say you're walking down the strip. I live here in Las Vegas. Let's say you're walking down the strip, and all of a sudden you notice a guy that's behind you who's been following you for a mile while you're walking down the strip. And all of a sudden you realize he's getting closer and closer and closer. And all of a sudden that spidey sense starts going off. That's your sympathetic nervous system response responding the way it's supposed to respond. There's danger nearby. Your body is beginning to release cortisol and adrenaline into your bloodstream. It's making you more alert. It's giving you more energy. And it's allowing a transfer of energy from the internal workings of your body to the major muscle groups in the body. So you can either fight or you can run. And this is exactly what it's designed for. Unfortunately, too many of us are walking around day in and day out in that sympathetic nervous system response for silly reasons or for really good reasons, right? But still not life-threatening reasons. And I'll give you a great story. So my daughter, I have a 2.5-year-old daughter. Her name is Harmony. That's a whole other story, but I'm happy to introduce you to her and I'm happy to share with you who she is. I'm very forthright in this community with what I've got going on. We go to the car wash just about every Sunday morning. We go to the car wash. And last Wednesday, it was a little different. I had daddy daycare going on and my car was dirty. I said, Harmony, let's go to the car wash. So we did. We go through the car wash, no problem. When I'm vacuuming the car, I let her out of the car seat and I let her climb around the car. But I have a lifted truck, so I keep all the doors closed while she's doing that. On this particular day, I had my car keys and my cell phone in the center console. You might know where this is going. I see smiles already. And I closed the front door. And as I closed the front door, my daughter turned off the truck and locked the doors. Not on purpose, just not knowing what she was doing, hitting buttons. She just happened to hit that button as I closed the front door. And I heard the locks go, and I was like, she didn't just lock the door, did she? And I go to open up the back door and it's locked. So I put the vacuum away. I come around the other side, and in the calmest voice as I possibly could, I'm like, Harmony, honey, unlock the door. And I was pushing the door was over here, the handle was over here, and I'm like pointing over here. I'm literally like inside my head, I am going bonkers. Okay. And I'm like opening the door. I'm like, Harmony, open the door. Now, at this point, my daughter realizes what she's done and she starts hysterical crying. Okay. She's inside my truck. All the windows are closed. She's locked herself in the truck. Now, luckily, it wasn't a really hot day. It was just, it was actually really cool. So she wasn't getting overheated or whatever. But this is going on 5 minutes now. I'm starting to like, Harmony, open the door. I borrow somebody else's cell phone. I have to call my wife. She doesn't answer because she's at work. I have to send a text from somebody else's cell phone while my daughter is screaming in the car. Harmony's locked in the car. I need you to leave work, go to our house, get the second key, come to my house. It's going to be at least 30 minutes, right? And that's the text that my wife has to get. So now my wife's nervous system is triggered. My nervous system is getting more and more triggered. That woman leaves. She was blessed and beautiful and amazing to give me her phone. She leaves. And now I'm back at the door. Harmony, unlock the door. Unlock the door. There was another guy that was vacuuming his car. He's like looking, not even like, just like looking. Anyways, freaking wild. Okay. So I walk around to the other side. And then on the other door, I was able to, after about 10 minutes or so, I was able to get her to look at the big silver knob, and she opened it up. She jumped in my arms, and that was my morning. Not necessarily life-threatening, although there was more cortisol flowing through my body on that particular day than I've had in a very long time. I came home, got my daughter into a nap and into bed, and then I got on my sound lounge for probably 30, 35 minutes. The power of vibroacoustic therapy to reset the nervous system is uncanny. Uncanny. Literally, the vibrations send a signal to every single muscle in your body telling it to relax. And it sends signals to your neurology telling your brain and your nervous system, the vagus nerve, and really the control mechanism for the entire body to go calm and relaxed. Now, it does this by creating a mild trauma in the body. And this is really important to note, especially if you're going to be putting other people on to the technology. There's a theory called hormesis, hormesis. And hormesis is basically through trauma comes healing. And you're very familiar with hormesis. There's a variety of different things. I'll give you a great example, and that is trees growing. It's just the easiest example that I think to really understand this. Hopefully y'all are familiar with the biodomes that they were building, right? Back in the 80s and the 90s, they were building these biodomes, and they're on, I don't even know, 6 or 7 at this point. But the first biodome failed, and it failed miserably. And the reason it failed is because there was no wind inside. And because there was no wind inside, none of the trees grew tall and strong. So that's hormesis. Through mild trauma, just from that wind blowing back and forth, it was enough to strengthen that tree as it grows and grows and grows. And without the wind, it wouldn't have that strength. Now, we're not talking about gale force winds. We're talking about even just the lightest breeze. In this example, the sound lounge is like that light breeze, right? It's shaking every cell in your body. And the body then reacts to that trauma. The body reacts with chemical cascades that are positive chemical cascades, serotonin, norepinephrine, many others. All these chemicals are escaping me right now. Dopamine, yeah, all the good stuff, right? All the good stuff. So all these chemical cascades start to flow just after your session. And it takes about 15 minutes or so. It's one of our competitors out there making claims that it takes only 7 minutes. Unfortunately, that's not what the science says. The science says in vibroacoustic therapy that it takes about 15 minutes for those chemical cascades to start, which is why we have 22-minute sessions in our library. Basically, vibroacoustic therapy says the ideal session is 22 minutes, 23 minutes, which is why we have 22 minutes. I like the numerology. We have 11-minute tracks. If you want something a little shorter, we have 33 and 66-minute tracks. We have a couple tracks that go from 2 minutes all the way up to 2 hours. So there's a variety of different tracks that we have in our app. I'm going to talk about that in just a moment. But as far as vibroacoustic therapy, we're talking 15 minutes for those chemical cascades to kick in. We're talking 22 minutes for that kind of ideal session for somebody. So if this is something you're offering in your business, I usually recommend revolve around that 22-minute session as the ideal session, and then base it around a 30-minute block. So if you're going to start at the top of the hour, give that person a couple minutes to get settled on the sound lounge, let them do their 22-minute session, and then give them an opportunity, another few minutes afterwards, for them to relax after that as well. And then 30 minutes, you can turn the room. So we can go through some numbers if that's something of interest to you. It's generally a conversation we have with our affiliates. However, I know many people are buying this technology, not becoming an affiliate, and just want to learn more about the technology and where it's at. If you are using this with clients, I highly recommend you go through the formal vibroacoustic therapy certification, the same one that I went through, the same one that so many of our affiliates and so many of our users have gone through. And that is through the very spectacular Kate Kunkel. Kate is a godsend. She is absolutely fantastic. She's been in this industry for 20 years. She's been with multiple different companies, and now she is a harp therapist and runs a retreat center down in Ecuador. I have the pleasure of talking and communicating with her on a regular basis. She is trained through the lineage of Olav Skill. Quite literally, Olav trained a gal in South Florida who trained Kate, and Kate has trained all of us. So we are formally trained through the lineage of the original pioneer of vibroacoustic therapy. And I think that that's really important. I actually like the history of that. I like what that feels like and what that looks like. So if you're just using this in your house and you want to learn more, it's a great course to go through. I think it's about $600. It's all online. It takes about 6 weeks. There is some homework to do in between each session. So plan on an hour or two watching videos and learning, and then another hour or two per week going through the homework, reading, understanding the different articles, periodicals, and then actually working with vibroacoustic frequencies as well. Again, if you're working with other people, I highly recommend it. She goes through intake, she goes through potential pitfalls, she goes through some contraindications, she goes through quite a bit on how to mix and match specific frequencies, as well as music that is more kind of pop music, if you will. There's certain conditions that when you're treating with vibroacoustic therapy, you want them to be listening to music they're familiar with. And there's certain protocols that involve music they're not familiar with. And there's certain protocols that involve just frequency. So again, there's a lot that goes into this tech if you want to access that information. I kind of went through a little bit of a timeline with our technology already, but I do want to talk about the sound lounge, the practitioner, and the meditation cushion, and really the origins and how they're set up. The sound lounge is by far our most advanced and most intense experience. 4 transducers, a 300-watt amplifier, Sennheiser headphones. The headphone amplifier that it comes with has 4 ports on it, so you have multiple outputs. You can stack multiple technologies along with it. It's curved, it's ergonomically designed. It has a dual density foam, which means the lower foam is stiffer. There's about a 1-inch softer foam that gets put on top. It's a very comfy ride. It's ergonomically designed, which means it's taking stress, putting your body into a neutral posture position and removing a lot of the stress from the lower back. I can lay on it for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. What's interesting about the sound lounge that most people don't realize is that it is possible to lay inverted on it. So you can lay on your back, which is how it's designed. But if you put your head where your feet are and your feet where your head are, you can actually lay on your stomach and let your head dangle where your feet would fall off, or putting a pillow underneath your chest. It's actually really comfortable to lay on your stomach on the sound lounge and on the tech. So most people don't realize that. The sound lounge is designed to be a standalone modality. So if you're going into a facility, or you have a facility where you're going to be putting people on the sound lounge and then walking away, you want to make the investment in the sound lounge. If you're buying it for yourself, you're probably going to want the sound lounge in your office, in your house, in your living room, in your healing room, whatever it might be. We really designed the inHarmony Practitioner to augment bodywork. So we started making the sound lounge in November of 2016. Happy 6-year anniversary to the sound lounge. And about a year and a half later, in January of not even a year and a half, about a year later, in January of 2018, we came out with the Practitioner. Now, we went to our community and we asked them, hey, what can we make different? We don't want to build a less expensive sound lounge. What can we do differently to serve a different purpose? We also went out to our non-customers, those that didn't buy from us, those that reached out, inquired, and then didn't make a purchase. And we said, hey, Why didn't you make your purchase and what could we do differently? And we got a lot of really phenomenal feedback. People told us they wanted something flat. They told us they wanted something that was much lighter, that could fold up into a bag that they can take with them. It was more portable. They wanted a smaller amplifier. They didn't want the tablet at the time that we were offering or the music that we were including with it. They wanted a speaker, not just headphones. They said, hey, I'm doing body work on my people. I want to be able to talk to them. So I don't want them to be in their own world. I want them. So I'd like a speaker. And they also said they wanted a face cutout. They wanted people to be able to lay down face down. So that's how the practitioner was born. In order to make it lighter, the heaviest part, because it's all made out of foam, the heaviest part is the transducer. So we had to make it lighter. And since this was specifically designed to augment body work, remember, the practitioner, vibroacoustic therapy is not designed to be the main show. The main show is actually the physical work that's being done. I'm very fortunate. I have a practitioner in my living room, and twice a month, a massage therapist comes in and I get body work on the practitioner each and every month. It is magic. Absolutely fantastic. And each practitioner is going to use it a little differently. You can use different music. Sometimes you're going to use our music. Sometimes you're going to use your own music. Sometimes you're going to use something that's a little bit more contemporary. Sometimes you're going to use something that's a little bit more meditative. There's lots of different ways and things that you can do on that front. It is absolutely phenomenal. A lot of our practitioner owners are massage therapists and body workers that just want to give their hands a rest as well. So they're finding themselves slightly changing their modality and slightly changing what they're doing and augmenting what they're doing using either the sound lounge or the practitioner mattress. We always wanted to come out with something that was less expensive, and that's really what the impetus for the meditation cushion was. We were aiming for this to be $499. We wanted it to be less than $500. Unfortunately, with the pandemic and manufacturing and everything else, it just wasn't feasible for us to do that. But that's always been the goal, and it still is the goal. So we'll talk about pricing and strategy and cost and that sort of thing, because it's a very transparent conversation that I have on a pretty regular basis, actually. But the meditation cushion was something that we came out with as we started to realize two things. First of all, a lot of our users were coming back and telling us about the meditative experience they were having on the sound lounge and the practitioner. I started to recognize and realize what was happening to me when I was getting on the sound lounge. We started doing some science and research. We started doing EEG readings. We were starting to identify what was happening in the brain while you're laying on the sound lounge. And you're basically in a theta brainwave state, which is that target meditative and deep sleep, REM sleep brainwave state. So really, this conversation started to erupt around mindfulness and meditation. We started to unearth some of the research associated with sound and vibration and how it was used in ancient cultures and how it's used in cultures all around the world to reach deeper meditative states using toning, singing, sounds, music, and of course, meditative frequencies as well. 432 hertz. We started doing a lot of research into the solfeggio frequencies. Eventually, this began to pave the way for our app and ultimately inHarmony Media, which we'll talk about here in just a couple minutes. But the research was really remarkable. What we started to look into the pyramids in ancient Egypt and some of these sound chambers and vibration and what it does to our physical body beyond vibroacoustic therapy. A meditation cushion was just the next natural step. And in fact, I'm really surprised there isn't one on the market until we designed it. We were awarded a patent just a month and a half ago, which is really, really exciting. So there is no other design like it. There is no prior art. There was nothing else on the market like it. And we were really excited to innovate, to create something like that. And I was really surprised that there wasn't anything like it. So the positioning of the transducer right at your root, it literally sends vibrations up your entire spine, and your earlobes can vibrate. Your teeth are chattering. It's a very unique position to have a transducer, and really until the first prototype came out, Dom and I didn't recognize or realize exactly what we had at our fingertips. And it is a very special piece of technology. It's sitting right behind me. And really what was key to us as we get into a little bit of best practices, what was key to us is the entire body being in the vibratory state. So when you're laying on the sound lounge, it's best not to have an elbow touching a wall or a leg touching a wall or your feet against a wall touching that wall. That grounds you into this reality. And when you're in a vibratory experience, when you're in a sound lounge session and everything is vibrating at the same harmonic resonance, really some magical things start to happen. And that's ultimately where the magic of our technology sits. It sits in your brain processing the same signals through your ears as it does through the mechanoreceptors in your entire body. So when you're laying on the sound lounge, if y'all are familiar, when I touch my skin and I move across my arm like that, there's mechanoreceptors in my skin that are sending signals to my brain that are telling it that there's changes in pressure as my hand is touching my arm. When you're laying on the sound lounge, the frequencies that are coming through the sound lounge, the practitioner, the meditation cushion, it's vibrating and moving every part of your body. Your entire body is in that vibratory state. Your brain becomes overwhelmed with that signal. It's the same signal that's coming through your auditory nerve. So your brain literally starts to piece together that it's inside the music. And that's what creates the meditative state. It's what creates and entrains the brain into that meditative state. So obviously coming out with a meditation cushion was really important, but not just a meditation cushion where you're sitting and your feet are on the floor. It was really important to us that everything is in that vibratory experience, which is why the meditation cushion has this footwell that I can show you here. So your feet are in the vibratory experience. Your entire body is in that vibratory experience. And that's really important to our tech and really important to the design. It does have speakers built in, although I do recommend for the most immersive experience to plug in headphones in the back. And I like the over-ear headphones. You can use the ear pods. You can use whatever wired headphones you want. I choose to use over-ear headphones. They just I find they just exit all the background noise the most and creates the most immersive experience. When your ears are listening and sending the same signals to your brain as the rest of your body, that's what creates this three-dimensional, fully immersive experience that makes you feel like you're inside the music. It's really wild, as many of you already know. All right. In addition to just the music that we make, and we'll talk about inHarmony Media in just a moment, you can actually listen to anything you want through the Sound Lounge. And it's one of the important design aspects of our technology that you can listen to anything you want on the tech. All four of the transducers are wired in series. And the reason we chose to wire them in series is because when you look at conventional music, it's historically mono. The low end is mono. You're familiar with stereo sound, and then surround sound is that Dolby 5.1 or 7.1 surround sound. You have two fronts, two sides, two rears. That's 6. And then the 7th is the center channel. And then the 0.1 is the low end frequency, which is why you usually have a subwoofer and it's in the corner of the room. And it doesn't matter what corner it's in, it just fills the entire room. So low end historically is recorded as mono, one channel, which is why the Sound Lounge is one channel, which is why you can listen to anything you want. You can listen to Dark Side of the Moon, reggae, hip hop, house music. It doesn't matter. Anything that you want to listen to, pop, hardcore sounds amazing. Not really my genre anymore, but absolutely sounds phenomenal. I got great stories around Rage Against the Machine, Sublime, all of these deep, that bass guitar sounds so good through our tech. So I highly recommend, if this is something that you enjoy, listen to your favorite music through the Sound Lounge. Pair your phone to the cushion or plug your phone into the Sound Lounge or the practitioner, and you can literally listen to anything you want through Pandora, Spotify, on your phone, YouTube. It doesn't matter. Just keep in mind, not everything is going to activate the transducer. So this is what's inside the tech. There's 4 inside the Sound Lounge. There's 2 inside the practitioner. There's 1 inside the meditation cushion. And inside here is a magnet. That magnet oscillates back and forth. A certain number of oscillations per second is a certain hertz frequency. It gets this through these terminals, and it gets it through these terminals by a very low voltage electrical signal. And that's basically how this magnet that is suspended in between 2 springs oscillates back and forth. So 20 oscillations per second is a 20 hertz frequency. And that's basically how our tech works. So you can listen to anything, and I highly recommend you explore it. Just keep in mind, a symphony or classical music probably isn't going to have enough low end to activate this transducer, which activates between 20 hertz and 200 hertz. Just to put that in perspective, the human ear has a frequency range of 20 hertz on the low end to 20,000 hertz on the high end. So again, the transducers that we use 20 hertz to 200 hertz. So we're talking about the low side of the human ear. It's really below 100 hertz is a feel, not hear, if that makes sense. That subwoofer that I was talking about in your home stereo system is typically 80 hertz and below. They range, but for the most part, it's 80 hertz and below. So we're really talking about very low end frequencies. Vibroacoustic therapy, by the way, is focused on studying 30 hertz to 120 hertz. Okay, so we basically, when we created the transducer and we chose this transducer, which are made custom for us, they have our logo on it. They're really nice. These were the first transducers, by the way, that didn't rattle apart. So we tested, I can't even tell you how many transducers we tested at the very beginning of building the sound lounge. After about a week and a half of running them constantly, they just all literally would rattle apart. We would leave one night and we'd come back, and the next day we would just find a magnet not doing anything, and this entire thing just shattered and wide open. Not these. These are made specifically for us. They're high quality. I have sound lounges that are running for 6 years. Literally, Tim can attest to it. The first sound lounge that he purchased is now sitting somewhere in Australia, and all of them are still running as efficiently, as effectively as they once were. The only reason why one would stop running is if you neglect it, if you play something through it that's not supposed to be played through it. And there's very little that, but what I will recommend is this. And we did have one sound lounge that they blew all four. Hey Josh, it's good to see you. I do have transducers, they're on their way. We had one gentleman who took their sound lounge. You can connect the sound lounge in anything you want. Think of the sound lounge as a big speaker. He connected it to a band for his birthday, and he also connected to a sine wave generator. The one thing about these transducers is they're not really designed to run all the time on end. So you'll see even in our music, they increase in amplitude and then they turn off. There's points in time where they stop completely, and that gives the mechanism inside an opportunity to rest. So we did have one person that kind of blew the transducers, and we're working with them to get new transducers, as I've told you. So we stand behind our product, 2 years parts and service, but even after that, as long as you treat this well, it should last you a lifetime. Feel free to reach out anytime you need something from us. We are here to help. So you can listen to anything through the tech. inHarmony Music Meditations, our app, and inHarmony Media. So it's run by the very spectacular Anthony Weiss. He is our director of harmonics. And Anthony is a 23-year musician and a 5-year sound healer. And Anthony is something special. This is our app. And in it, you'll find over 220 tracks that are all designed for your listening pleasure. In the top right corner, you're going to find a funnel, and that funnel pulls up. It's hard for me to do it backwards, but when you pull up that funnel, it pulls up a bunch of different ways for you to sort and categorize what's going on. You can do it by duration, you can do it by category. I highly recommend exploring through our app and getting familiar. Like I said, 220 tracks that are in there. Best practice is going to be to download each track. So on my phone, most of these are already downloaded. Ooh, I'm in the test flight version actually, because I've been playing with the new version. So in the top right corner, you see that down arrow? That down arrow, you'll see a check mark, and it'll tell you that it's starting to download. When that check mark comes, that means that track is downloaded. So best practice, before you put somebody on the sound lounge, or before you start your own session, download the track. It downloads the track into the phone. It does not download the track into the phone's music player. It downloads the track inside our app on the phone. So basically, instead of streaming and reaching out to the internet, it just looks for the copy that's on your local device, and it takes the internet out of play. Our app is designed to run in airplane mode. However, once per week, you need to log out and log back in just to authenticate. Even if you have lifetime access, you still have to log out and log back in just to authenticate with the server and let it know that your user has lifetime access, because we have monthly subscribers, we have annual subscribers. So once a week, you got to log out and log back in. Otherwise, you can fire it up in airplane mode. If you fire it up in airplane mode, it's going to take you to the download screen. And on the download screen, you can see all of the tracks you've downloaded. And then all of the tracks you haven't downloaded on yet will have a purple square on it. And that took me to the track. but if you hit the download, it will actually show that it's downloading. It'll give you a status bar and show you that it's downloading, and then it's going to jump to the top on iOS. And once that track is downloaded, I highly recommend downloading all the tracks before. It just cuts out not just your internet connection, but it also cuts out the device and the hard drive that's on the device, the RAM that's on the device, your local network. I mean, there's so many different things that can come in. Somebody can come onto the network and start downloading something. Dropbox files could start syncing, whatever it might be. Somebody could start streaming. There's always congestion on these networks now. So many phones and devices are connected that I highly recommend downloading the track so that you can work from it on your local drive. All right, so that's the inHarmony Music Meditations app. And then inHarmony Media, like I said, driven by Anthony Weiss, aka Home, an incredibly talented sound healer. We release a new track just about every 2 weeks. And we also collaborate with other artists that are out there. So if you know somebody that makes beautiful music, incredible music that you think or already know sounds great through our tech, we would love to meet with them. It's a little slow go. Right now, we're focused on broadening our library and releasing tracks. Like I said, 2 tracks per month. We're up over 220 tracks at this point. So it's a really exciting place for us to be. Anthony is in the process of finishing a chakra series. I think Heart was just uploaded. I think, we just spoke this afternoon. I think this Friday we have Third Eye, and then Crown coming out next month. And then we're going to bring a chakra balancing track, which actually moves through all of them. It's going to be an hour and a half long track. It's going to be really, really quite beautiful and really quite wonderful. So inHarmony Media is our record label, and it is something that we're very excited about as far as how things are going to be rolled out. Right now, we've been focused on the solfeggio frequencies and obviously the chakras. And you can find some videos on our Get Started page, which I will show you where that is. So if you ever have any questions or you're not sure about our technology, let's see. So hopefully y'all can see my screen. This is our website. As you scroll to the footer of our website, I'm going to try and not make anybody dizzy, but as you scroll all the way down to the footer of our website, you'll see this Get Started page. And this Get Started page is actually about to get an upgrade. This is not our Get Started page, but let's go to our actual Get Started page, and it looks like this now. We're literally redesigning just about every page on our website. The very spectacular Anna Favela, who's actually on this call right now, has been redesigning these pages. So nice little welcome message from me with longer hair in my old place. You can see the same tiles are behind me, but that's actually my old apartment. Access to our private Telegram user group, which we're going to talk about in a few minutes. Most people don't realize that we have a setup guide. We actually have a setup guide for our technology by itself. We also have a setup guide for using our BrainTap headset as well. So you can see what these components look like, and you can see what it looks like, the amp, and how to connect it. Most people don't realize we have this. It's all digital because I don't really want to waste the paper, but we do have setup guides that you can find on the Get Started page. We also have the Cocoon experience and a setup guide. And then we also have videos for each one of these products. So if you have the meditation cushion, the sound lounge, the practitioner, or if you do have a BrainTap, here's how they can work well together. We're going to be adding in here our app so that you can actually see some videos on how to navigate the app. We're in the process of editing some of those videos right now. And you'll see here's everything you need to know about setting up this video. We'll fix this video that's here. inHarmony Sound Lounge setup, how to fold your inHarmony Sound Lounge, best practices, videos. I don't know why it's not loading, but we'll make sure we get all this stuff sorted and figured out so that when you come here, these do load. And we do continue to release new videos. So as people ask us questions, I'll record the video, Anna will edit it, and we'll put it up here as well. So we've got lots of really wonderful resources, and we continue to get better and better and better on the resources that we're rolling out. Your inHarmony practitioner, how to do the wiring instructions, how to get this thing set up, and then of course, best practices as well. So we're going to constantly upgrade and update what we've got going on here, but I do want to show you that Get Started resource that we have as well. All right, since we just talked about the Cocoon experience, let's talk about stacking our technology. So one of the things that I think is most important about the inHarmony technology and what we do is that it stacks so well with so many other technologies. Stacking technologies just means that you're using multiple technologies at the same time. So a few that come to mind, and we'll talk about each one individually. PEMF. a biomat or infrared heat, a sauna. I wouldn't put it in the sauna, but using it before or after a sauna is phenomenal. And I'll share with you my evening routine. Um, red light therapy, blue light therapy, the EE system, grounding, earthing, heated blankets. There's the biomat. There's Higher Dose has their mat. There are so many different ways and different opportunities for you to stack multiple modalities along with what we're doing. So let's talk about them as a whole. I love PEMF. I'm a huge fan of pulsed electromagnetic field therapy. I have 2 units here at the house. However, what I have found is that it's discordant for me to use the PEMF at the same time as I'm using my sound lounge. So I do PEMF first, then I get on my sound lounge, or I'll do my sound lounge first and then I'll get on PEMF. The same with the biomat and some of the thicker infrared and crystal beds. They can go on top. The heat is okay. I wouldn't take it to the highest setting above 105, 108 degrees, which is still plenty warm for the human body. But I wouldn't go much higher than that just because I don't want to melt the foam. I don't think you will. It's just a recommendation. Plenty of people are using the practitioner mattress with these other thicker um, um, infrared heat beds. I don't recommend it. I actually like a heated blanket much more than I like these infrared thicker devices. And the reason for that is you're putting something in between you and the vibratory experience. You're dampening the vibratory experience. And even though our tech is designed to go more, you always have more, I still don't recommend it. So just be cautious of what feels good and be cautious of what doesn't feel good. And just know that you can always stack technology in a protocol before and after. So I'll give you a great example. My evening routine lately has been to get in an evening workout. I like to fatigue my muscles late at night by doing push-ups, pull-ups, squats, that sort of thing. I break a sweat, I get my heart rate going, I hop into my sauna for 15 minutes, just enough for me to get a decent sweat. I go and I take a shower, I go through my wash-up routine, and then I get on my sound lounge. And it's like the most magical experience ever. The one thing that I will talk about is if you have a brain tap. And for those of you that have been around for more than a month, you would know that we used to sell brain tap on our website. We've since made some changes. This has all been hand in hand along with brain tap. Brain tap is growing. They're expanding. They're about to release a new app. They're about to release a whole bunch of new magic. And we've taken a little bit of a step back while they release all of this new magic. We do send follow-up emails after people make a purchase, asking them if they want to stack and add the brain tap, returning them back to our affiliates first, but then offering to them an opportunity to stack that technology on top of it. We do have a great partnership and strategic alliance with BrainTap. All of the Cocoon Wellness tracks are going to be inside our app. They're still inside our app. They're still inside the BrainTap app. So for those of you that did buy a BrainTap from us, you might notice that we can't buy it on our website any longer. And the reason for that is it got really confusing, frankly. It got really time consuming for us to serve and to educate people on how to use it post purchase. So the front end was great and beautiful, but unfortunately, it took a lot of time and energy for us to execute on the back end. So the technology still worked really, really well. It's still a 1 + 1 = 3 kind of environment. I still use my brain tap all the time. I travel with my brain tap. However, we're not selling them on our website any longer. Instead, we are offering a referral afterwards so that you can buy a brain tap directly from brain tap. So for those of you that are watching this that are one of our affiliates, reach out to me, and I have a link for you to become an affiliate of BrainTap so that you can actually represent them directly to your people. If you're using BrainTap in a clinical setting, they're going to want you to become a provider. And that opens up a whole lot of different opportunities to you as well. And if you are seeing clients in clinic, then you're probably going to want to become a provider as well. So again, reach out to me separately and I'll send you a link. Actually, better yet, if you want to become a provider, if you're using it in clinic, I'm going to make an introduction to Sean Beam, who is a phenomenal human being and somebody that I've been working with for the last 2 years. So I have a love affair and a very nice crush on BrainTap. But it's just not something that's going to work out on our website in the near term. That might change in the future. I'm not sure exactly how that's going to go. We still have the Cocoon products in our app. You're always going to have access to that music. In fact, we're always going to come out with new music as well because I use the brain tap on a regular basis. Patrick and his team are constantly looking for music, and inHarmony Media, we just happen to have a bunch of incredible artists doing incredible things. So that program will continue to grow and expand. we're just not going to sell those headsets through our website as at least for the next few months while we try and figure a couple things out. BrainTap is growing exponentially. inHarmony is growing exponentially. And it was just very difficult and clunky on the back end, and it got to be very time consuming for both of us. So we made that decision together. So stacking technology is something that works really, really well. Let's talk about best practices and troubleshooting. All right. So first things first, the music player, whether it's an iPhone, an iPad, and tablet, an Android device, your computer, it doesn't matter. Whether you're streaming YouTube or you're streaming from our app, you always want to make sure that this device volume is at 100%. This is really important. You want to send the entire signal to the amplifiers and then use the knobs on the amplifiers to pull back the vibration to a reasonable level. This is really important. If you take the volume, if you keep it at unity level, which is like 70% of its total power, you won't get any vibration, even with the gain controls turned all the way up. So just keep in mind that that's the case. Now, especially with the Sound Lounge, with this volume being all the way up and the gain being at halfway, you might feel a little bit of feedback when there's nothing playing through the Sound Lounge, and that's okay. So you can play with the volume and the gain knobs. And again, it's about finding a healthy medium between the three different places that signal is being amplified. The phone is amplifying the signal. The headphone amp is amplifying the signal. And then the Sound Lounge amplifier is amplifying that signal again. So finding that sweet spot is really important. And our best practices video that's on our website will help you get dialed in so that we're all on the same page. And then if you ever do call with any questions, I can say, okay, are we here, here, and here? And you go, yes, okay. Now we can start to figure out exactly how we can turn those knobs and get it more comfortable. The knob that you want to use on the Sound Lounge is going to be the main knob on the Sound Lounge amplifier. Same with the Practitioner. And there's two different knobs on the cushion. We have a vibration knob and we have a speaker knob. And the speakers are the headphones, and the vibration is obviously for the vibration. So make sure the volume's at 100% on the input device. Also make sure that your input device is on Do Not Disturb. You don't want bells, chimes, cell phone notifications, and that sort of thing going off in the middle of a session. It's not fun. I don't recommend it. So make sure it's in DND. Some people get static on the line. Static is for two reasons. The first could be that there is dust in that little hole right there in the port. Like a Nintendo controller, if you remember those days, you kind of just blow it out. You could take a Q-tip and put it in there as well. You can clean off the tip of the headphones. This is obviously USB-C, but you can just lick your fingers and clean off the tip. The black lines that are on that these right here. So you see those lines that are going across, they happen to be white on this. Those lines are actually where the contact points are. And those lines correspond inside where it's connected. Those lines actually correspond. If dust gets on those lines, there will be static. Okay, so again, that's the easier one. That's actually pretty easy to figure out. Just trace back to all of the different connections and double check that. If you're not setting up and breaking down the Sound Lounge or the Practitioner on a regular basis, if you're not plugging and unplugging headphones to the meditation cushion, that's probably not going to be your issue. 9 times out of 10, when you hear static, it's actually dirty electricity. And this is something that I've found with my Sound Lounge. And it doesn't matter what outlets, but there's something that happens when my BrainTap is plugged in and the tablet I'm using is plugged in. Sometimes I hear the static coming through the headphones. Unplugging the tablet removes the dirty electricity, opens a loop that was closed, and I no longer have static. So if you have static, it's best practice to put the headphones on, hear what's going on. You might have to unplug something or try a different outlet or use a power conditioner. There's a multiple of different ways to get around it. What I have found is when somebody is on a session on my Sound Lounge, I unplug the tablet and let it run off its battery. And then I plug it back in between sessions just to make sure that that static is not heard. So a lot of people look through and try and figure out, is it one of the connectors? And that's a great place to start. It could simply be dirty electricity that's that's playing through what you've got going on. Some people call and they have sound in one ear coming out of the headphones. 9 times out of 10, that is a connection that's not pushed in all the way. Again, if one of these lines is not lined up correctly, you're only going to get sound out of one ear. And if this isn't pushed all the way in, you're only going to have sound out of one ear. No vibration with sound coming out of the headphones in the speaker is generally a connection or something in the sound lounge amplifier, something in the practitioner amplifier. If you're getting sound out of the headphones, it means the signal is going to the headphone amplifier. If you're not getting vibration, it's either you're not at 100% on the input device, or something's not connected, or something has come unplugged, or something has fallen out. No vibration, no sound. That could be something that has to do with obviously earlier in the signal tracking. So again, reach out to me if you have any questions. Reach out to me if you're having any troubleshooting issues. Y'all have access to my cell phone. You can send me a text. You can give me a phone call, day, night, weekend, weekday. It doesn't matter. I'm here to help you as often as humanly possible. And then the last thing is how to clean it. We get this question a lot. The fabric that makes up the top of the practitioner, the sound lounge, and the meditation cushion is impervious. So it is relatively waterproof. I wouldn't go swimming with it, but we did that for bodily fluids, sweat, that sort of thing. So all you got to do is wipe it down with mild soap and water. Some people use some mild essential oils mixed in and blended in. You don't need to use a harsh cleanser or cleaner in order to sanitize it and clean it, although you certainly can. But just some mild soap and water is all you're going to need to get that wiped down and cleaned off in between sessions. You can buy covers for the ears. They sell them on Amazon. They're disposable. Those are great. And I usually put a tissue in between the eye mask, the weighted eye mask that we use as well, just to put a layer of protection. Cocoon best practices, if you are using the brain tap along with the sound lounge, the practitioner, or the meditation cushion, it has to be hardwired. A lot of people call and they say, hey, I'm not getting vibration when I have the brain tap on, or I'm only getting lights and ears, but I'm not getting any vibration. Generally speaking, that's because they've connected their phone directly to the Bluetooth and the brain tap headset. Here's the thing about Bluetooth. Each device can only have one Bluetooth connection, in or out. So your phone cannot connect to both the sound lounge or the meditation cushion and the brain tap headset at the same time. And once you connect your phone to the cushion, your cushion cannot connect to the via Bluetooth on the brain tap headset. So everything has to be hardwired. If you have the meditation cushion, in the brain tap headset that you ordered, you'll find a 4-foot auxiliary cable, and that works directly with the meditation cushion. If you bought the sound lounge or the practitioner, we give you an extra cable that is 1/4 inch to 1/8 so that you can plug it into port 3 on the headphone amplifier. And all of that will make a lot more sense once you have the tech and once you've experienced it. So no Bluetooth. If you want to use Bluetooth headphones with the sound lounge or the practitioner, you can certainly buy an adapter, but I don't recommend it. And the reason I don't recommend using Bluetooth headphones with the meditation cushion or sound lounge or practitioner is because Bluetooth technology inherently has a 30 millisecond delay built into it. It takes about 15 seconds to convert the analog signal to digital, send the signal, and then reconvert it from digital to analog so that you can hear it. 30 milliseconds probably doesn't sound like a very long time. However, your body will recognize that difference. And when you're sitting on the meditation cushion, that transducer that I was talking about is hardwired to the amplifier, means there's no delay. And if you're using Bluetooth headphones, that means your ears are 30 milliseconds behind the signal that's in the transducer. And remember, we talked about that unified experience where your ears are feeling the same thing as the rest of your body. And if there's a slight disharmony, then it's going to be off and the therapeutic power is not going to be felt. So I don't recommend Bluetooth. I know it's convenient and I get that. I have AirPods. I use them all the time, but not with the tech. I highly recommend hardwiring the technology. All right, let's talk about some resources. We talked about Telegram. We joked about Telegram being the most distracting app on the planet this morning or just before the call. We have a user group on Telegram. And inside it, you'll find messages from me. You'll find messages from our network, our community, reminders, questions, troubleshooting, app updates. When new tracks come out, Anthony puts a post in there. If we're having issues, if Android, like they did 2 weeks ago, decides to completely change the backend database that we use and all of the apps, or not all, but most of the apps go down, the fastest way for me to communicate with you is through that Telegram channel. The best place for you to ask questions, because we have an incredible community made up of like-minded human beings just like you. They're all really resourceful. And if you ask a question, sometimes I'm not the first person to respond. Sometimes somebody in the network is the first person to to respond. I see you and your beautiful tongue. Yes, yes, yes. You. I see you. There you go. So it's all good. I love it. I love you. All right. So the Telegram group is a phenomenal place to be. The Telegram group is a great place for you to ask questions. And the Telegram group is the easiest way for me to get a message out to everybody when there's something going on. We have about 20,000 email addresses. Many of you get our emails. It takes me about an hour from the time I want to send an email until the time I actually send an email out. I have to organize it, design it, download it, send it. It doesn't send all at once. It sends it in batches. I push send on this chat group and it goes out to 250 people like that. And if you've got questions or you want clarity or you want something in return, all you got to do is return back to the entire group. Just keep in mind, 250 phones are getting notified every time you send a message into that group, but it doesn't bother me. Ask the questions and get the message out. What I love about Telegram is it's not owned by Facebook. What I love about Telegram is that it works cross-platform. So for those of you that are using an Android, I have an iPhone. I can send you voice notes. I can send you videos. You can upload videos to me. So we use Telegram a lot in what we do, both in private messages, one-on-one, as well as in these group chats. If you're an affiliate with inHarmony, we have a separate chat completely for our affiliates. Both of these groups are private. You cannot find them by just searching for inHarmony. You have to be invited. And that creates a certain level of privacy so that we can have the conversations that we want to have using certain words and certain conditions and talking about different things. So it's really important to me that we have that community. And it is literally the best possible way that we can communicate. So I can't say this enough. Get on Telegram. I know it's another app, but it's really, really important that you do. I've already shown you the Get Started page. I've already showed you our user manual. I want you to know that we have an incredible YouTube channel. So if you haven't been to our YouTube channel, I can show you that really quickly because I really like our YouTube channel. It's something that I really pride myself on. inHarmony Interactive. There it is. And I'm going to give a quick share while that's loading. And I'm going to show you this incredible channel. Yes, I have. So that plays, can't figure out how to stop that, but so be it. Look, scrolling through here, this is last month's same video that we just did. And right next to it, you're going to see now a playlist with both of these are going to be up from last week. I go live each and every Tuesday with the latest of what's happening around. We talk about inventory. We talk about manufacturing. We talk about our app. It's just a 10, 15, 20-minute update of what's going on around town. We've got lots of videos that help you and tutorials. We've got, if you want to share some, we have some really professional and really well-made testimonials. I've got a 10-day Sound Lounge challenge that I've only posted 5 days on because I have 5 more days that I need to edit. We did post the first 10 solfeggio frequencies in 11 minutes. Anthony put these to video so you can stream these through YouTube. So if you're ever having any trouble with the app, these are great go-to use cases for it. And then we've got some live music of home actually making music and some creating deep house. So you can see what the process looks like for him to make music. And then we've got a link going back to Holistic Health Science and the old page that we've got going on as well. I highly recommend you click the subscribe button in the top right, check out our weekly lives, check out the Zooms that we're doing on a monthly basis, and stay connected. The last thing that I want to talk about is one that I grazed upon very, very briefly, and that is contraindications. Generally speaking, there are not many contraindications with our technology. Even pacemakers have been proven to be okay on the Sound Lounge. However, I want to urge you to use caution. So our technology is really powerful, like very, very powerful, especially if it's turned all the way up. And in fact, I would go on to tell you there's really no reason to use it all the way up. In fact, when I'm doing sessions, I'm 6 years into using my Sound Lounge. When I do sessions, I'm at 50%. So the volume on my phone is at 100%. The volume on the output on the headphone amplifier is at 50%. And the gain control on the Sound Lounge amplifier, the volume control is at 50%. Goes all the way up to 100%, and you can do it all the way up to 100%, but there's really no need to. Anybody that's in a high risk category, somebody who's prone to having strokes, somebody who's got thin blood, somebody who has blood clots would be something that I would want to avoid. A lot of people are coming out with blood clots right now. I would avoid putting them on the sound lounge in the short term because we don't want to dislodge any of those clots. If they're stuck somewhere or if they're stuck in something, you want to be very cautious if somebody is prone to blood clots. If somebody has a pacemaker, it's okay. But again, I would start with it very, very low. So in any of these high risk classes, my wife was pregnant with my daughter. We used the sound lounge straight through the pregnancy. Right now, she didn't crank it all the way up. It wasn't all the way on its highest level, but we certainly used it on lower settings straight through her pregnancy. With my daughter, within 1 week of her being on this planet Earth, she was on the sound lounge. She was freaking out. We couldn't figure out what it was. We went through the checklist, the diaper, the food, the milk, the whole thing. She was still freaking out. I said, let's put her on the sound lounge. Later on the sound lounge, I picked up her head. I made sure my hand wasn't touching the sound lounge. And literally within 10 seconds, her eyes were moving all over the place and she was trying to figure out what was going on. And then all of a sudden, the biggest smile came over her face. Now to this day, she's 2.5. She goes and lays down on the sound lounge all by herself. The app, she knows how to touch the tablet. She knows how to push play and she'll scream, Baba, Baba, which is Turkish and father in Turkish. And I'll run over and she'll be, look at me, I'm on the sound lounge, right? So she absolutely loves it. So I highly recommend it for children, for kids, even folks that are in those high risk categories. They can still look, at the end of the day, you're listening to music. So at the end of the day, music is safe for all conditions, but you do want to be cautious, particularly if people are prone to seizures, particularly if people are have blood clots or currently have blood clots, recently had a stroke, that sort of thing. It can be very soothing, it can be very calming, but you just want to start low vibration, and ease into that experience. The other thing that I would recommend, not recommend, or contraindication, is anyone with an open wound. So obviously, if you still have staples, cuts, if you have anything that's going on in a surgery that just passed, the sound lounge can be really good to calm and relax the body. However, if you have an open suture or an open wound, you want to wait for that to close and close completely before you get on the sound lounge and you start vibrating and shaking everything apart, right? And it just makes sense that you'd want to hesitate in that particular situation. So again, you can go really low. Just don't turn it up so that you're shaking every single cell in the body when there's an open wound or an open cut. That's all the material that I have. It's 1 hour and 10 minutes of content. It's an awful lot. There's a few of you that have been watching diligently, taking notes and trying to distract me all at the same time, which you only succeeded to do once. Haha. But if you have any questions, now's a great time to open it up and ask away. I'm literally an open book and very happy to be here with you.
On contraindications, what do you ever have any trouble with people with vertigo?
No, vertigo can actually be really helpful with the sound lounge. So there's some crystals in the inner ear, and a lot of times those can get dislodged and adjusted. And a lot of times the sound lounge session can actually readjust them. You want to make sure that that's happening in the right direction. I'm not a chiropractor, but what I find specifically with vertigo is that the sound lounge and the waving motion of the sound lounge can actually be quite soothing. But again, it's different for each person. So if somebody's coming to you presenting those symptoms, you just want to ease into the session and you just want to start slow and start easy and then monitor it and be there with them, right? Like make sure that they understand. A lot of times, especially with vertigo, I won't use the eye mask. I'll keep their eyes open. Sometimes I might start with somebody sitting up on the sound lounge instead of laying down, right? Especially with vertigo. Again, there's so many different approaches that you can take to it. And keep in mind, sometimes it's just a matter of putting your hand on the sound lounge and sitting in a chair next to it to feel the vibrations. One limb touching the sound lounge is going to be really, really powerful. For us as practitioners, you got to keep in mind, we're standing around that tech all day long. We are absolutely picking up on those vibrations. It is absolutely calming and relaxing our nervous system as well. I'll do 6, 7, 8 hours of sessions before I'll even realize that I haven't eaten any food all day. And I'll be like, so just keep in mind that there's lots of different ways, and I'm not even hungry. I'll just be like, wow, I haven't eaten all day because I've just been in the
belly's
vibratory
been vibrating all day.
Totally, right? I'm like hovering. So so keep in mind that there's lots of different ways to ease into it, and in those cases, yeah, I would ease into it. Is that it, Alea?
That's the only thing I've got. Yeah.
All right, cool. Anybody else have any questions? No? There's like 8 or 9 people here. Nobody has questions. Cool. We covered it all. All right. Well, I'm going to stop the recording. I'm going to post a recording in the Telegram group. I'm also going to put it up on our YouTube channel so that we can chat and you can watch past recordings. And I hope you all have a spectacular day. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you for being here. And see you soon.